FiTech. That name probably spells multiple different things to multiple different people. Some people might think Chinese crap. Some people might go, that is really good stuff. Some people are probably in the middle, and there's others that have no idea anything about it. And I'm going to give you my personal opinion as an owner of 3 separate systems that are probably 3 different generations of systems on 3 different applications of car, as well as a transmission controller that I have not installed yet, but I'm going to very soon. You're not going to see that in this video, but I'm going to give you a very honest opinion on what my experiences are with them, and from fuel systems to fuel pumps to how they run to issues that I've encountered. Let's take a ride in something that has FiTech power with an FiTech fuel pump. That is my 1981 crew cab dually that has a 454 in it with a turbo 400 right now. It will have a 4L80, which is the whole transmission controller thing I was talking about. And it alone increased its mileage by like 3 miles per gallon, just with the FiTech, nothing else. So with that being said, let's get this thing started. I'm gonna get to work because it's another job I gotta go do, and I will talk on the way there. So let's get to it. Street system. I think it's a 600 horsepower setup. I have an inline FiTech fuel pump sitting, I think pretty much in line with the front driver's doors. It was an easy spot to get to and access it. A lot of people complain about those fuel pumps, but this one's been great. I've had this one in the truck. So this combination in this truck has been, gosh, about 2 years, I think, because I put it in before drag week in 2023. So around August of 2023 is when it went into this truck. In the drive down to drag week, that was about a 5.5 hour drive, I want to say. The truck got 11.5 miles a gallon towing. Mind you, this is a 454 peanut port heads, a Performer RPM intake. It has a RV cam of some sort. It's like a flat tappet, just, you know, RV cam and give it a little bit more torque. It has a turbo 400 with a stock converter, and it has 410s out back, and it's a 1-ton crew cab dually. It's not a little thing. Towing a trailer, we were going down hills and stuff too, and that I'm sure helped a little bit. But all freeway, cruising at 2,500 RPM, which is what I always cruise at, going to 60. The thing got 11.5 miles a gallon. That is ridiculous. It has great throttle response, and me personally, I was having issues with the fuel system and the carburetor on this truck. I was over it. I had that system laying around. I was planning on putting it on this truck anyway, and I said, screw it, I'm done with that carburetor. I literally threw the carburetor like in the trash, basically. And it was an Edelbrock 750. And through the, and with that, it runs great now. There's a Sentra going by. Those are my windows. Anyway, it runs great now. Without towing, going through town and stuff, I get like 10 right now. And I currently have a 4L80 sitting in the shop right now for this truck to put that system all together, and we can hopefully, my goal is to get 15 miles a gallon out of this truck. But this system, this is not the first thing I've had this system on. I bought that system used probably, at this point, probably 5 years ago. It was $500, I want to say, $500 or $600. I bought it from a guy who had it on a Nova with a 350, I think he had it all together in, and he couldn't make it run right. And at the time, I put it on my Nova, which that was my 350 with the camel hump heads, 270 comp cam, a torquer intake on it, 2500 stall converter. I think I had 355 gears in the car. I had the 400 horsepower system on it at that point. And I swapped to the 600 horsepower system to try to give it a little bit more legs and try to get a little bit better mileage and stuff like that, try to get more throttle response, more fuel because it has a little bit bigger injector anyway, all that kind of stuff. I swapped to it, and at the time it ran fine for probably about 5 or 6 months. I was starting to have startup issues. It would run fine if you got to start, but sometimes just would not want to start. It wouldn't want to do the pre-shot, which is like the pump shot or like the pre-start shot. So it'll pump a certain amount of fuel in to basically give it to enough fuel to start and crank. And it wasn't doing that. It was totally bone dry. If you got it started, it would run totally fine. And when we came through with all the tuning and everything, and I was trying to talk with the FiTech, they were super cool. I mean, they probably spent an hour on the phone with me trying to figure all that out. And we figured out it was the ECU was going out. So they didn't warranty it because I bought it used. But it was like $200, I think, for the system's computer. And I think I got it done in like 35 minutes. It was some like super simple thing. I mean, it was almost like changing jets out in the Edelbrock. It was that simple. Just literally unplugging a bunch of stuff, putting it all back together, and it ran great. That's the ECU that's in it currently. So it's probably going on what, 5 years at this point, or 4 years probably 4 years, we'll say, with this new ECU, and it's been fantastic with that setup. Couldn't be more happy with the way this thing works. And with that inline fuel pump, it is fantastic with that thing. I've had zero issues with it. I know there's a lot of people that have complained about that, and I can understand why they may have issues with it because of what I had to go through with the Camaro. Alright, now that I'm at the sub shop, I'm going to let you guys jump cut back to the shop. We're going to talk about my wife's 67 Camaro that has the 400 horsepower system. That is the first one that I ever bought, probably 7 years ago at this point. So with that being said, I'll movie magic and alright, we are back in the shop, and as you can see, this is my wife's 67 Camaro. It is originally actually a 230 straight 6 car with a power glide. We put a 350 small block in it with originally a carburetor and everything in it. And then I went over the process last year. I think it was last April, I think I did it. I put the 400 horsepower system that I had with another inline fuel pump. This one has a Walbro 60 psi fuel pump that's right by the fuel tank, which I won't show you guys because I have to jack up the car and a bunch of other stuff. But this one, it has the 400 horsepower system that I had bought originally for my Nova. Like I said, 7 years ago probably at this point, I bought that system. And literally with this one, I have not had a single issue with this system whatsoever. We've had tuning stuff, just the growing pains of tuning. Let me pop the hood and I'll show you guys the system, how clean it looks under here. So this one I tried to make literally as stock looking as I possibly could, and other than this wiring right here, you can't really tell that it's EFI. There's a few wires that come through right here. The EFI system itself, the fuel lines and everything are ran out back that way. They're all hidden with the heater hoses, pretty much. They're all hiding back there. Pretty much the only way you can honestly tell is if you look underneath the air cleaner and it says FiTech. That's kind of the only way you can really tell, which is honestly the way I wanted this thing to look like. This is originally, like I said, a straight 6 230 car. This is a 327 block that someone at some point built it into a 350, and then I had the 462 camel humps to put on it, so that way it looks really period correct in the 67 Camaro. We have the disc brakes and everything on the back, which obviously that's not a FiTech. But like I said before, this system, I probably personally have 20,000 miles combined between this and my Nova. And I haven't had a single issue aside from just like learning how to put the system together on my Nova. That's the only thing. And the other thing I will say that is an issue that I ran into once with this car, but it has nothing to do with the FiTech, is make sure you run a fuel filter in front of your fuel pump, because I may or may not have forgot to do that. And one of the first times we drove it with the EFI, the fuel pump got clogged up really bad, and I had to pull the fuel pump apart and blow it out really good, and then add an inline fuel pump, and then add an inline fuel filter into it. So just make sure when you're putting your fuel system together that you have a fuel filter in line with the rest of it. Because I have a fuel filter up here. It's a 10 micron that's up hiding behind all the fuel line and stuff. But that one obviously didn't help with the fuel pump. So that one helps with the fuel injectors and everything, doesn't help with the fuel pump. But yeah, so I mean, there's really not much to say about this one. This one's, 10 years old at this point. The LCD still works on the touchscreen, still works totally fine on the controller. It works great. runs great. I haven't had a single issue aside from the fuel filter, fuel pump situation, which was just my stupidity. So now, let's roll over to my Nova real quick, and I'll show you the newest, latest, and greatest one, and honestly, probably the one that I've had to mess with the most just because of the application that it's with. But before I do that real quick, let me just start it and just kind of show you, because we started the dual league, so I'll start this one too. I don't think this one's ran in, what day is the day, Wednesday? It drove Sundays, last time it drove. I'm not going to touch the fuel. I'm not touching the pedal. Fuel injection. Alright, so third but not least, I have my 1967 Nova system, and this is the Go EFI Classic system, and this is the one that I got as a sponsorship from FiTech probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point. I bought the other two systems used off of Marketplace, and I had those, like I said, 5 or 6 or 7 years. Talked with them a lot, tagged them, messaged with them a lot on social media stuff, and basically when it came time to it, they asked, you know, we started talking about systems and everything, and I wanted the Go EFI Classic system because it looks like a Holley carburetor. And basically they're like, yeah, we can just send one to you. And at that point, when I took about 2 years to put this thing on, or about a year and a half, just because the car wasn't prepared for it. This is the 600, because the injectors and everything on this one are a little bit bigger than what I had on the 400 horsepower system, and I had the 350 at the time in the Nova when we were originally talking. And then we started working on moving and from California to Tennessee. And in that process, the Nova had metal go through the motor. So at some point the cam or something happened, a lifter failed or something from all the drag racing and just hot rodding I've done with the car. And I put my 283, which is the numbers matching factory 283 for this car, which is literally a bone stock 1967 Nova 283, which makes like 180 brake horsepower kind of thing, or flat flywheel horsepower, so really like 110 horsepower. It's like a 1580 car with that engine in it. But I had the 400 horsepower system on this car at that point because, and even then it was a little rich. I probably could have tuned a little bit out of it, but the converter was super tight, and I didn't care. It was a good driver. It got low 20s for mileage and stuff like that. But this system ended up sitting on the shelf for about a year and a half before I put my 350 back together, which I've had some tuning to do with this system just because of what this engine ended up being. Originally, I got a flat tappet trick flow cam. I got a set of aluminum heads. We got some parts for this engine, and the cam went flat. And so I bought a used Marketplace cam, which happened to have a 107 lobe separation, and it's around 550s, 560s lift. So pretty decent size for a stock 350 bottom end, pretty much, and for a street EFI system. But it handles it flawlessly. We actually I put this engine together and this whole combination together in this car. The first time it drove, we put about 50 miles on it, and then we went to Drag Week 2023, and the car did flawlessly. We went from Darlington to Rockingham to Bristol, and then to Carolina Dragway, and then back to Darlington. And over that span of tracks, the altitude probably goes up 2,000 feet, just going up to Bristol and the mountains and everything, and coming back down. And I was talking to other guys that were running similar times as me, because I ran around 1270s, 1250s the entire time. And there were guys running around the same times as I was, and they were changing carburetors, changing jets out and everything. We got a base tune set up at altitude where our house is, because we're up in the mountains. And then when we would go down the hill and everything, it ran fine. It loaded off the trailer, go race, put the headers back together, and off you go again. And didn't have to worry about anything. We ran with everyone that was cruising. There's a 700R4 in the car now with 411s, and we could cruise 75 on the freeway with lockup converter. It shifts totally fine. It runs great. I mean, I had literally no tuning to do when we were racing other than raising the RPM up, the idle RPM, just so we can it was easier to mess with during burnouts and stuff like that. And like I said, with the tuning, once we got the tuning set up on it, it took me a little bit, but once we got it set, it's been pretty much fine since then. And so, like I said, I've had this system probably 2 years on the car now at this point, and this one has had the worst issue that I've ever had with one, and this one got a stuck injector. Now, mind you, we drove it from, where did we go? So my wife and I went on a day trip, and it was probably a 100-mile round trip. We went to the movies, and when we were leaving, I went to hit the key, and literally it was just dumping fuel out of one of the injectors, like, probably half a water bottle full of gas down, and it was enough gas to where it was actually going out the collectors in the headers. So I loaded up on the trailer. I'm like, nope. So I asked my dad to come get us with my truck and trailer, and we loaded up and we went home. I unstuck that injector in the shop, and now I have a kit in my tool bag to where if something like that happens again, I can probably unstick an injector on the side of the road. So that's back to that. Well, if they're not reliable, I don't want to. You can fix a carburetor on the side of the road. You can't fix an injector. Well, you can. I proved that. I got it started again, running totally fine with that injector. Since then, I talked with FiTech, and Mike over at FiTech, he actually sent me a set of injectors for it. Which they're the 62 pound over the 35, I believe, or 36s that were in it before. So that'll be interesting to see how it does at the racetrack, because those are like basically bigger jets. So I'm excited to see what that does in the car. But to that point, if you have the right tools, you just, instead of having a carburetor tools, you have injector tools. So instead of having, say, jets and stuff sitting in your tool bag, you have an injector. Instead of having screwdrivers and stuff, you have Allens, and you have some of the fuel injector tools, and you have like alligator clips and things like that. And the cool thing about the FiTech systems is a lot of the stuff's transferable, and it overlaps with other things. So like the O2 sensors that are in these, they come out of a Volkswagen, so you can get those at O'Reilly's if you want. There's a lot of GM sensors in them. There's don't hold me to it. I think there's a Bosch injector that you can run, or you can just, I think there's $60 from FiTech. You can just have a set of injectors with you. The IAC is the same way. They're, like I said with the ECU, when I changed out the ECU, they had it to me like that. There's a lot of stuff like that where it's not a end of the world thing if something happens. And honestly, for the amount of money that they're really, I don't complain about them, and especially when they're used. Getting a system for $450 and it lasting for 7 or 8 years, and you basically don't have to touch it. I don't know how many people can say that with their carburetor. So, but that's kind of my testimonial. Like I said, if they were crap, I would tell you that they're crap, and I also wouldn't have them on 3 of my vehicles, and I also wouldn't have asked for a transmission controller from them if I didn't trust their stuff. We're planning on going cross country with my dually a lot. We're planning on, I race this car a lot. This is probably like a low 12-second car. I wouldn't put on my wife's Camaro and trust it to like go to town, and if I didn't think it would work. So that's just kind of where I'm at. I would put FiTech on everything I own. If there was an option to, I would throw an FiTech system on anything and be probably okay, and be 100% trustworthy of it. You're going to run into issues. Old cars are always issues. There's always going to be issues with them. An alternator can fail, water pump can fail, rear end gears can fail like the Nova right now. So you just have to be prepared for that stuff. And as car guys, we just understand that that's part of it. But having a system on there that you can, trust to do pretty much everything you need to do with it, I don't know where you can go wrong with them. So, and I know Holley's the same way. I've had a bad experience with Edelbrock stuff. I won't get into that, but Holley's are good too. FiTech's good. It's just, what you want to run, and I've had a good relationship with FiTech, and I don't know, I'm used to it at this point, so it's just pretty much what you want to run, and that's just kind of where I'm at. So if you are leaning one way or another, I hope that helps. If you're against them, I'm sorry. Some of my experiences have been good. Some have been a little bit frustrating. Being stuck in the movie theater parking lot was frustrating. But saying that, That was one time out of the 3 vehicles that I've ever really been stranded because of these systems. The fuel pump in this one, that was my fault. This one has an Aeromotive in-tank fuel pump, if I didn't say that already. It has an Aeromotive tank with all new fuel line and everything. So this one has gotten the most love and attention. The other 2 have been kind of like the, let's try this, let's try that, and then move forward from that. But with that being said, I'm going to stop monologuing, stop talking. Hopefully this helped you make a decision one way or another. If you still like your carburetors, if you are swayed to an FiTech system, good job. Hopefully you can find one on Marketplace, or you can talk with them. They have their scratch and dent specials all the time that you can buy a warranty for. And they have deals all the time. There might even be a deal right now, like 10 or 20% off certain systems. So just always check out their website and just see. I'm not getting money for this at all, but if you're looking for FiTech stuff, just kind of keep an eye out for their website, and hopefully you can get lucky and get a couple $100 off. But with that being said, I'll see you guys later. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hope this video helped you. Be sure to check out thedailymisfire.com for apparel and stuff, because we still got t-shirts like this one right here, which is showing the drag week from 2023 sponsorships and our route and everything, which was pretty fun. And there's other cool stuff, and we're going to start working on blog posts and videos and articles and a whole lot of other really cool stuff on the website. So I don't know where to go with that. So see you guys later. Peace. You didn't think I'd leave you hanging, did I? Let's see if this one will start with a pump, without a pump. Sometimes it doesn't like starting without it having a little bit of a help. Tuning.